So,
So, actually, so there might be. I have to recuse myself from the Mills Meadows as well because I work for People Engineering. So if we might have two projects we won't be able to take official objects. Right?
she said we just have it home.
Oh, okay.
Hey, did your wife say shut up? Did your wife say shut up and you thought she said stand up? Are you laughing? I don't have to tell her now.
No.
I have good luck. Okay, so what do you want to do? Hold on.
Just give me 3 minutes.
3 minutes. I set the timer. Andrea?
Yes.
She says we just have a quorum. We just have a quorum. He has to recuse. We can't vote on 2 properties.
What subdivision do you live in?
I live in Berkeley Bridge. There's a waiver and a sketch plan, but then I work for Greenway Engineering, and that's for the Mills Meadows project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One you work for, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
The other one.
He recuses on all the matters. We can't take it up.
Well, something.
Okay. Alrighty.
Should I send Dan a text?
That probably won't hurt.
Huh?
That probably won't hurt.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound. The meeting has not started. Please wait or try again later.
That's all the planning commission members saying, are we?
We're waiting for our Zoom connection to be installed.
I will tell you that my house butts up right. Recuse. Okay. Okay. Alright. He says I should recuse and probably leave the roof on the Berkeley Ridge for the Berkeley Ridge project.
That's up in that.
Mm-hmm.
I sent Dan text. It's delivered when I know it's ready.
Okay. Okay.
I'm in a meeting, but now I'm the only one there. So.
Hmm? No, not yet. I'm going tomorrow. The lines have been too long.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't understand.
Mm-hmm.
There's no line. Zip in here.
Yeah.
Raina
Mm-hmm.
came, goes to you. I said, "Yeah," she says, "Deputy on the next floor." Came up the first landing and the lines are like,
Holy moly.
yeah, I went by several times. Now, so,
Mm-hmm.
and so I just couldn't.
That's why I'm hoping to get in there early and just try to see if I
Nobody's
can.
sick Sunday.
think so, yeah. Mhm.
We can keep our form. He stays in the room.
Uh-huh.
He just can't participate.
Okay.
Twice. Usually, you would leave the room if there's a conflict. But in a circumstance like this, custom is to have the person accusing themselves stay in the room, to keep the quorum,
Yes.
and not participate. Okay?
Okay.
And just put that out on the record that that's what you're doing. You're staying in the room. You might just go stand over there or something, but you're not going to participate.
Okay.
And let them know that you're abstaining. But
He can abstain due to conflict of interest, right?
yeah, you're abstaining due to
You have to
conflict.
state.
Okay.
State that. But yeah, just stay in the room so we don't lose it.
Gotcha.
All
Okay.
right, so he can not participate and abstain due
Hello?
to conflict.
Hello? Hello, hello.
Oh, hey, this is Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Thank you.
It's Eric.
Hey, Eric.
Hey,
This is Heather. Let me get the participants on the screen so I can see everybody that's here. Sorry for the delay.
Not a problem.
I'm gonna ask for an honorary IT name tag after this. Okay, I have three. So there's 3 on here and 2 of you, so we have 4 if you want to start.
Okay. Let the minutes show that it is 10 after 6. We're held up due to having our Zoom connections. So we now have everybody, and I'll ask for a roll call.
Jim Whitaker, Linda Barnhart,
Present?
Eric Goff,
here.
Vickiana Norton, Tim Lewis,
President.
Daniel Gant, Nick Deal,
Present.
Derek Smith.
Present.
Okay, we do have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Present.
Derek Smith.
Present.
Okay, we do have a quorum.
All right, let me-
The next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Present.
Move to approve.
Okay, I have a motion from Eric Goff to approve the agenda. Need a second?
Second, Derek Smith.
Second by Derek Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Okay. The next item on the agenda is our Sunshine Law speakers. If you have signed up to speak, now is your opportunity to do that. I would ask that you come forward, state your name, put your name on the sheet, and give us what is on your mind tonight. Okay, let the record show that there's no speakers for the Sunshine Law. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
Motion by Eric Goff to approve minutes as submitted,
Second.
second by Nick Deal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. The first item on the agenda is the public hearings, and we have 4 of them. Berkeley Ridge, Section 2.
Berkeley Ridge is now.
I will read the staff report for that.
Okay.
We had Laura signing in, but because of the delay, she might not have been able to log in. So.
I'm going to be recusing myself from this project. I'll remain in the room, but I will not be able to participate in any discussion due to conflict of interest.
This is a public hearing request for waiver for Berkeley Ridge, Section 2, file number 2009-250, tied to 2008-184. The developers D.R. Horton Incorporated, the engineers Fox and Associates. It's located in the Falling Waters District, map 14, parcel 26.3. The site's located on the east side of the existing Berkeley Ridge subdivision, north of Spring Mills Middle School. Project proposes 148 townhome lots on approximately 20.5 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The developer is requesting a waiver to the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance 2009, Article 8, Section 801, Table 8-1A8, requiring 3 parking spaces per dwelling unit with a minimum of 1 parking space per dwelling unit being off-site. The developer is proposing 101 off-street parking spaces contained in 3 separate parking fields throughout the site. The number of off-street parking spaces required by the ordinance is 148. Also, 58 on-street parking spaces are being proposed. Engineering staff concurs with planning staff. Planning staff recommends approval of the waiver to the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance, Article 8, Section 801, Table 8-1A8, requiring 3 parking spaces per dwelling unit with a minimum of 1 per dwelling unit being off-site.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening, Steve Sianovich with Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Thank you, Steve.
Heather, I also mentioned that there's a gentleman.
I don't see anybody signed in. He may have tried when we were initially starting at 6.
Understood, thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing for Berkeley Ridge, Section 2. Anyone who has comments from the public wishes to make them known, now's your opportunity.
Because of the delay, they should be able to do it now. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I thought you wanted to speak regarding Berkeley.
I just want to make sure the Zoom meeting was going on for
Yeah. Zoom meeting has been a bit of a challenge for us
Yes,
here.
and I can see there's a tab for attendees, so as soon as they dial in, their phone number will show up for me too.
All right, again, this is a public hearing for Berkeley Ridge, Section 2. If you have questions or comments, now's your opportunity to make those known. I'd ask that you come forward, state your name, sign in on the sheet, please print, and your address, so you can be contacted at a later date if necessary. Let the record show that there's no public comment, so we will close the public hearing. I'm sorry.
He was raising his hand.
I'm sorry. Mr. Stianovich is such a nice stature that I couldn't see you. Please print your name and address.
We do have a few phone numbers that have appeared, so when he's finished.
Okay.
My name is James Wilkinson. I live at 84 Vespucci Lane, and I'm here requesting additional information on this phase 2 development. Currently, I'm an owner in phase 1. My property backs up to the area that is going to be developed, and we were told when we moved in that there would be no development behind it. As a matter of fact, we paid a premium for that. So I'm interested in finding out when the land was acquired by Horton. First of all.
Okay. I can't tell you that. Mr. Stianovich can answer that question. I don't know when Mr. Horton purchased it, because this started in 2008, so several years, many things have happened.
But the land for phase 2, I'm interested in understanding when that was acquired by Horton.
I don't know that.
I'd be happy to answer that. Gentlemen, that's other questions I can answer them all as well.
Has there been any study done on what's going to happen with the increased traffic, since you only have 2 openings into the new development? Because we already have traffic problems. and some safety issues because of the number of kids that are in the phase one development that are concerning.
Do you have any other questions? I'll answer all your questions.
Well, there are other,
And sir, if you could speak into the microphone since we're being broadcasted, the planning commission members want to hear you as well. And by speaking into the microphone, they can hear you.
all right, thank you. Yep. So the issue is, has there been any study done on the impact on traffic through the phase one development, since you only have two means of entrance and exit from phase two? And right now, I can tell you right now, there aren't enough parking spaces. Look, period. So those are my points, just so I get some answers.
Answer that, Linda?
Sure.
And we have a few that have dialed in if you want me to unmute them and see if they have any additional.
All right, let's
First.
do that, yeah. Are they from the same project?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is there anyone that has dialed in through Zoom that would like to speak on the Berkeley Ridge waiver request? You're all unmuted.
The first question posed by that gentleman was, when did D.R. Horton acquire the property?
Mhm.
They have an option right now. If Center Point Bible Church is the current owner of the property. Center Point, as you may recall, a few years back, was proposed to build a sanctuary area, sanctuary building on that property. One reason or another, I understand that activity or that proposal was abandoned. Property came up for sale. D.R. Horton was made aware of it and made an offer. And actually had an option on property. Settlement would not occur on the property until the plan gained complete approval by the planning commission and all other agencies. So they wouldn't.
Can you hear this, Mr. Wilkinson?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they wouldn't purchase the property until such time all approvals were in hand. This occurred. We first started talking about it in 2018. So about 2 years ago, I'd say, when we first started talking about what can be done with the property in terms of a residential development style improvement. So to answer his question, it was about 2 years ago when that occurred. And again, D.R. Horton will acquire the property, settle the property, it's all approved.
Okay.
Second question he had was traffic. Really, day one, we approached the division of highways about the amount of traffic that can be generated by the 3 lots that were proposed. DOH did not require any improvements to Route 11, nor did they require any improvements to Campus Drive, which is where Magellan Drive and Campus Drive intersect to provide one of the accesses to this community. Division of Highways did not require us to do any traffic studies or any volume counts or trip counts or anything. The only thing Division of Highways asked us to do was to design a turn lane when you're traveling northbound on I-81, northbound off-ramp at Spring Mills or at 901. If you go out there today, there's a single lane that approaches the light, and there's no dedicated right turn or left turn movements. It's all a single lane. So folks need to share it if you're doing a left movement or right movement. So what we did design and submit to the Division of Highways was an improvement plan to widen that range to achieve dedicated right turn lane and a dedicated left turn lane once you approach 901. The status of that is they approved the plans and DOH sent us their bonding requirements. At present, D.R. Horton is working to secure the bond that'll need to be posted for those improvements Once the bond's posted, then the DOH permit, which is tied to the Berkeley Ridge Section 2 project, will be released. In terms of traffic on the interior streets, when we look at the Berkeley County Engineering Department's requirements or requirements within subdivision, the street widths are such in the existing community where they're wide enough to actually provide for the increased traffic counts that are expected by the 148 lots that are proposed within Section 2 of the community. And as far as parking, as the other comment which I would make, this design of Section 2 is somewhat unique. That we're looking at 4-pack units and 6-pack. 4 units, 6 units. Each end unit is going to be a 2-car garage with a double width drive. So the reason we're asking for the waiver is, of the 28 buildings that we're proposed to construct, every building, 28 times 2 is going to be about 56 buildings, excuse me. 56 of those buildings, or 56 of the units contained within those 28 buildings. So each end unit would have a 2-car garage and a 2-car driveway. But right off the bat, the building park 4 cars in 58 of the 148 units proposed. All the other units are garage units with a single car garage or single car driveway, excuse me. As Heather pointed out in the staff report, there's 101 parking spaces within 3 off-site parking fields. And we also have 58 on street parking spaces that we've delineated or will delineate on the construction. The streets in that community are no less than 32 feet from flow line of curb to flow line of curb, so they're very wide streets. I certainly don't dispute what this gentleman said about parking, but the few times that I visited, and I tried to visit to gauge the parking, different times of the day, different days of the week, even weekends, and to try to see if there were, parking problems. When I was out there, I could see people parked, on the street in designated spots dashed off. I never visited the site where the community parking fields were completely full. Now again, I don't live there, but I visited a handful of times at different times of the day, different days of the week, by gauge, if there was a parking problem. And I never witnessed any of that. I'm not disputing what that gentleman said. There could be certain times of the day or days of the week where parking could be, maybe all the parking spaces are vacant in the community parking field. But the few times that I visited, I didn't see any evidence.
Were you ever there in the evening?
I was. Most recently, the last planning commission meeting, I came down and I was there about 5:20 in the afternoon. And all this work from home stuff, I thought that would give me somewhat of a decent idea as far as where we're at with parking. In that particular visit, which was 2 weeks ago tonight, I took pictures and I should have printed them out. I didn't see any of the parking fields. None were full, and there were still plenty of spaces on the street, as well as spaces within the community parking areas. The other thing I'd like to share is the Berkeley County Assessor's page has some 2020 imagery, aerial imagery on the website. And that's one thing that I looked at when we first started talking about this project. I have no idea what day of the week that flight was taken, what time of the day. But when you look at that photograph, there's a bunch of empty parking spots in the community, in these community parking fields. And many of the folks aren't even parked in the driveway, which tells me one of two things. They're either parked in the garage, or that aerial photo was taken sometime during the day when folks were at work. I wasn't able to figure out the date or time of that photograph from the website.
Mr. Wilkinson, does that give you some insight?
Well, I heard what he said. Not sure that I agree with everything that he said. And I think there's an investigation, and
you do understand that this is a sketch plat for the section 2. It's nothing final yet. This is just an idea in the developer's head as to what he wants to do.
I think we're actually signing a waiver.
The waiver is not a sketch plat.
It's,
The agenda has two Berkeley Ridge items on it.
Oh,
What we're on now is the waiver with regard to parking.
okay.
And then if we're successful with that, then the next item would be the sketch plan.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Engineering, I'd like to add, the question on parking was raised. And insisted that there be the extra width to accommodate parking. With, these nice little parking bays that they have are fine, but I'm sure that groceries from that parking lot today. So, instead of having the narrow streets on it, they can accommodate those. And the acquisition did not start on this, he pointed out. Prior to my coming here, I actually worked on some of that church property. I was worked on getting utilities on that, service that, for the cost of the project.
Thank you. Any further comments from the public regarding Berkeley Ridge Section 2? If there are no further comments, can I have a motion to close public hearing?
Close the public hearing.
that was Tim.
Motion by Mr. Lewis to close public hearing. Second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Norton. All those in favor of closing public hearing for the waiver request for Berkeley Ridge Section 2?
Abstain due to conflict of interest.
Thank you. Motion passed. Okay, next item on the agenda. Oh, no, we need to vote on the waiver, sorry. Planning Commission, you've heard Mr. Wilkinson and you've heard Mr. Sianovich. Now we need to make a motion to either approve or deny the request for the waiver. Hello, Planning Commission members?
Tim, was I make a motion, we accept staff recommendation and grant the waiver?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Ms. Norton to accept staff recommendation and to grant the waiver for parking requirements for section, for Berkeley Ridge Section 2. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain due to conflict of interest.
Opposed to the staff recommendation? Is there any planning commission member that's opposed to the waiver for the parking requirement? They all on there? Planning commission members?
No.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay.
Not opposed.
Pardon me?
They had their mute button on. I can unmute them here, but they still have to unmute themselves. So they were in the process of doing that. There they are.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. So there's no objections to it, that means the motion passed. We have one abstention by Mr. Smith due to conflict of interest. Okay, the next item on the agenda is
Thank
the same project, and this time we are going to look at the sketch plan advancement.
So again, this is another public hearing, request for sketch plan advancement. The project is Berkeley Ridge Section 2, file 2008-184, attached to 2009-250. The developer is D.R. Horton and the engineers Fox and Associates, located in the Falling Waters District, map 14, parcel 26.3, and is located on the east side of the existing Berkeley Ridge subdivision, north of Spring Mills Middle School. This project proposes 148 townhome lots on approximately 20.5 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The developer was just granted a waiver to Article 8, Section 801, Table 8-1A, requiring 3 parking spaces per dwelling unit, with a minimum of 1 parking space per dwelling unit being off-site. On October 7, 2020, County Engineer Dirk Stansberry issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The sketch plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan phase.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project?
Steve Sianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Again, this is a public hearing. If you have questions or comments, now's your opportunity to make those known. Please come forward, state your name, your address, and sign in. Mr. Wilkinson, am I to assume that you have the same comments under the sketch plan as you did the parking requirements?
You're correct.
Okay, thank you. And you've been answered. Again, this is a sketch plan. It is not etched in stone at this point, because there are several other approvals that will need to be in place prior to preliminary final plat approval.
I should probably mention too that I'm recusing myself from this, the sketch plan application
Okay.
as well.
Let the record show that Mr. Smith is recusing due to conflict of interest. If there's no further public hearing, can we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Motion by Mr. Goff, second by Ms. Norton to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Sianovich or of the staff?
There are no questions, Mr. Timlis. I make a motion that we accept staff recommendation and advance the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation and to accept the sketch plan and move it on to the preliminary final plat stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain due to conflict of interest.
Okay, we have one abstention. Mr. Smith, due to conflict of interest, the motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is a public hearing for Rocks Hedgesville.
So like Linda just said, it's a public hearing for a request for major plan change approval. The project is Rocks in Hedgesville, file 2008-181, tied to 011-18. The developer is Roach Properties LLC and the engineer is Gordon Engineering, located in the Hedgesville District, map 22, parcels 27.1, and it's located on the northeast of Hedgesville Road and Roaring Line Drive intersection in the Hedgesville Tax District. The major plan change proposes the relocation of the stormwater management facility and the addition of a car wash, expansion of a fuel canopy, and extension of the right-in entrance from Route 9, and the limits of replacement of the existing 10-inch water main that runs along Route 9 as needed for the extended right turn lane. At the April 2nd, 2018 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted an exception to Section 705 to not install sidewalks along Route 9. On September 29th, 2020, County Engineer Dirk Stanberry issued a letter of approval and stated that the major plan change meets the requirements to approve the plan change. The major plan change meets all of the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the major plan change.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to represent the project?
This is Ben with Gordon.
I'm sorry, who is it?
Ben
This is-
Gordon.
Yeah.
This is a public hearing for Rocks Hedgesville plan change. Anyone has questions or comments, please come forward, state your name, and any suggestions you might have. Ask that you print your name and sign in. Let the record show that there is no public comments.
Move public hearing be closed.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Goff, second by Ms. Norton to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. The public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of the staff?
Or Ben.
Or Ben, if Ben can hear him?
Yes, he can.
There are no questions. I'll make a motion to accept staff recommendation and approval of the major plan change. It's Tim Lewis.
Second, Dirk.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Smith, to accept staff recommendation that the plan change meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance and recommends approval of the major plan change. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed. Next item on the agenda is Mills Meadows.
So the last public hearing tonight is a request for reconsideration. Project is Mills Meadows, file 2008-167, tied to 33-19. The developer is Mills Meadows Development LLC and the engineer is Greenway Engineering. Located in the Arden Tax District, map 19, parcel 3, and is located near 605 near Bethel Way. The project originally proposed 99 residential lots on approximately 17 acres to be served by public water and sewer. Now the developer is proposing 130 residential townhome lots. Originally, the developer is requesting a reconsideration for a waiver to the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance, Section 502.1, requiring a minimum of 2 points of access onto a public road or WVDOH right-of-way for any phased or non-phased residential development, which generates initially or cumulatively 100 lots or more. The county engineer hosted a meeting among several parties to facilitate a discussion regarding possible connections in the future between these developers and other neighboring developers to provide interconnectivity. The developers were receptive to the ideas. However, since there is not a timeline associated with these options, the county engineer still recommends denial of the request. Planning staff is in receipt of communication from WVDOH indicating that they would be requiring a traffic impact study for the proposed 130 lots. Planning staff recommends denial of the request. However, if Planning Commission wishes to consider granting a waiver, planning staff strongly encourages exercising Section 1204 conditional waivers, which states, in granting waivers, the Planning Commission may require such conditions as will, in its judgment, substantially secure the objectives of the standards or requirements so waived. As an example, these conditions could include requiring a traffic impact study for any development above 99 lots and requiring proof that first responders have proper access to residents.
Do we have anybody to represent the project?
I was going to go ahead and mention real quick that I'm going to be recusing myself from this project. I'll remain in the room, but I will not be participating in the conversation.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Jamie McLean with Greenway Engineering. I'm here to represent the project.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. If you have questions or comments regarding Mills Meadows, please come forward, state your name, your address, also sign in on the sheet, and please print. Looks like you have been pointed out. Absolutely.
You can't have hearing aids. Please, let's go. Okay, so my name is Dwight Hall. I am signed in. I live at 59 Icelandic Court, Martinsburg, West Virginia. There's some inconsistencies in this request. It originally was 99, an additional 30. They're saying, right? 99, additional 30, and then it says 130. Well, 99 and 30 is 129, not 130. And it's several places in here it talks about that. So what's the real number that they're requesting up to? This is my confusion.
Well, my staff report says 130, so let's deal with that number.
But Greenway is saying in here that it's gonna add 30, making a total of 130. So there's some, it's 31 they're wanting to add to me, is what I'm looking at. Maybe it's just a mental block or something, I don't know. There's some other language in here about, I think we should focus on Mills Meadows, not Mills Farm, but Mills Farm is in here, and it says there are 322 units in Mills Farm. There are not. They said the first phase of Mills Farm was approved in 2009, July. That's not accurate. It was already built in 2002. But there was something really good here that I noticed.
What are you reading from?
I'm reading from
You're reading from tonight's
Jamie,
staff?
that's what I'm reading.
I can't. I think there's from the.
It's somewhere in
The
there.
attachments after the staff.
Any other points, sir?
No, it's somewhere in here. 101. I got no fingerprints anymore. I was a mechanic on all that stuff. Anyway, there is talk about, it's right here. It says, 322 to compare to the waiver request of an additional 30 lots to a maximum of 130. So, to me, if you have 99 and you ask for an additional 30, it doesn't come to 130, it comes to 129. So this is not an accurate request.
Maybe Ms. McLean can clear that up.
Probably. So anyway, I said it could be something. And then there's also, and this is really helpful, because I was looking at this and, we've all seen My Cousin Benny, I guess. So I'm looking at this thing, and I said, well, gosh. And I'm looking at the proposed island boulevard. And if I'm looking at these numbers correctly, is that 11 right there?
I'm not sure. I can't see.
On either side of the proposed boulevard for island, it shows 11. Is that figure 11 feet?
11 feet with a 6-foot shoulder.
But the road is 11 feet.
It's 11 foot wide with a 6-foot shoulder.
Okay, and so what goes to my mind is fire engines look big to me, and sometimes things look bigger than what they really are. So I'm trying to find out how wide is a fire engine. And, not everybody knows, but somebody knew, and I talked to them, and this was the state fire marshal. And I explained the situation to him best I saw it. And he asked me a couple of questions. He said, well, when was it built? I said, was it built yet? And he said, oh, and he said, are there any houses in close proximity to this area? And I said, well, yeah, there's, and he said, it has to be 20 feet. And I said, 20 feet on each side of this boulevard or island? He said, it's got to be 20 feet. He said something about 2018. I don't know, but it's probably gonna have to have some more looking into.
That's the 11 feet plus a 6-foot shoulder on both sides is 12 feet. So in this example, it would be 20.
On
23.
each side, not
But-
total.
But the total width
No,
of each side is
it's when you
23
go
feet.
in,
Right.
even if it's 11 plus 6, how many's that?
It's plus 12
Plus 12
because the shoulder's 6 feet on each side
on each side of the boulevard?
of each side of the lane.
Okay. So that's how, what is that?
So that'll be 23 feet coming in and then 23 feet.
Oh, well, maybe that does work, because I'm looking at 6, I'm not seeing any measurement on the shoulder.
And I'm sure Jamie can explain with more, but
I
that's
got
how
I got it now, because it just looks like it's, and it's not, I'm looking at an elevation, not an elevation, but I'm looking at what looks like stones. Is that down level with the ground, or is that raised?
she could go into more detail on that.
If you, once you've got
Okay,
other
okay.
questions, I'll
I got you, I
answer
got
them
you.
all.
Okay. And maybe that's me. I'm not gonna, all right, thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak regarding Mills Meadows, of matter other than what Mr. Hall mentioned? Absolutely.
That'd be great. Thank you. Jennifer Stewart. I live in the adjacent subdivision in Mills Farm. And he already touched on the CB 31 versus 30 requests. And throughout the letter, there is some mistakes in regards to 3A traffic concerns. And also at the final paragraph of the letter, it states a maximum of 30 units. So it would actually be 31. So that clarification and modification would be necessary because the figures for comparison would need to be updated in regards to the traffic and the school impact as well. In my opinion, the purpose of a public hearing is to receive input from the public. And since 305.3 states advancement of a plan shall not constitute approval of the final plan, and under section E, a plan change must be submitted for public hearing under the following circumstances. Number 1, a change in the number of lots. Public comments are welcomed at various stages of the planning. And this is regardless of whether or not the sketch plans. The waiver request and the request for consideration is actually self-imposed or developer-imposed because from the very beginning, the developer requested 99 homes, which, as you are aware, that's one short of the requirement of the subdivision ordinance of 2009 requiring the 2 access points. They did that on purpose, not requesting 100 in order to not have the secondary entrance. They purposely chose to purchase 17.2 acres. I'm sure there could have been additional purchases of land surrounding that they could have purchased. They are also aware of agricultural history that is subject to enhanced scrutiny of its environment suitability for residential development. So if they choose to stay with the 99 townhomes as originally applied, there would be no need for this waiver. They can then purchase more land from the adjacent property owners and then build their secondary entrance if they wish to expand. So then 3B would not even be an issue. Regarding section 502.1, the 2 access points, it doesn't say it should be required or may be required. It says shall be required. In addition, it has to be approved by West Virginia Division of Highways. I don't see a permit or a permit number. In their section regarding consistency and fairness and whether or not it's compromised or jeopardized, their examples are actually from people that were grandfathered in that had permits from West Virginia Division of Highways before the subdivision ordinance was even applied. Amberfield section 5, it looks like it may be possibly erroneously listed as 2006. I believe it was a 2016. And it was subject to an emerging ingress permit or emergency vehicles only ingress. Macaulay Crossing townhomes, also possibly erroneously referenced as, let's see, 042-15 is actually 042-05. This was actually approximately 30.87 acres and 191 townhomes. But the reason they got the waiver is because they allege that the project has started in early 2003 and 2005, again, before the subdivision ordinance of 2009. They also had the emerging equipment regarding ingress and egress for emergency vehicles. Cardinal Point, section 1048. 18, when they requested the waiver, the developer said that they were sensible to the ability of the emergency responders to gain access and created an authorized vehicles only road that was used to complement the single existing standard entrance into the community of these 119 lots. Again, the approval was contingent on the board, on a bond encumbered by the authorized access road. And they also planned a future road called Divergent Drive. So these developments had history, they provided an emergency access road, and they were also required to set up a bond. Section 401.3 states, this is a different item, that the proposed name of the land development, which shall not duplicate or closely approximate the name of any other land development in the county or its close proximity. In my opinion, Mills Farm and Mills Meadows are way too close. And if you put two of them right next to each other with the boulevard or the island, first responders are going to get confused and they're not going to know which one to go to because it's from the original plat. It was all on the same property. So we should not be having two properties in the county, let alone next to each other, that have a similar sounding name. They still haven't addressed the 802.2 screening for screening requirements to provide an effective visual barrier at street level between conflicting uses. Section 1203 waivers, 1204 conditional waivers, and 1205 requests for consideration have not been met. They have not mitigated their impact as they have not responded to all of the public comments. They have many inaccuracies in their requests and calculations. They are contrary to Berkeley County goals, the subdivision ordinance, public interest, health, safety, and welfare of others. So in this county, written assurances for future phases or sections are insufficient. Berkeley County Planning should and has required a financial bond as well as an emergency access road. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak regarding Mills Meadows? Yes, please. State your name and your address, and please sign on the sheet printed with your... Okay, thank you.
My name is Nicole Hogan. I live at 99 Lusitano Lane, Harrisburg, Houston. They mentioned almost everything, so I didn't want to take up much of your time. My only comment, I guess, would be last time when we met here, Amy mentioned that a lot of people think that the problems are because Mills Farm doesn't like the way we only have one entrance and over 250 units. And we kind of see the same thing happening with Mills Meadow, which is, I think, a valid concern. We've seen our issues and we'd like it not to be for someone else. But the comment before that I didn't agree with was that was then and this is now. We didn't get to over 250 10 years ago. In fact, 3 years ago, not that long ago, we added another 80 units or so, still going over. They still got their waivers approved, still going over, we still only have one, and they still have the same issues. And that's why you guys denied it last time, that's why the staff recommendation says the safety is a concern. And I only wanted my comment to just reflect that I didn't agree with last time, because everybody else did. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak regarding Mills Meadows? Let the record show that there's no additional comments. I think we should probably go ahead and close the public hearing.
Take a motion for public hearing.
A motion by Mr. Goff to close the public hearing, second by Ms. Norton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the public
Abstain
hearing-
due to conflict of interest. Sorry.
Public hearing is now closed. Do you want to address the situation?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
There were, I jotted them all down, so hopefully I got everything. In the report, it was up to, because we haven't designed unless we get the waiver for the additional lots in the back. The request is for up to 130 on a boulevard entrance, instead of the original entrance that was proposed with this sketch plan. So it is up to that. It is on the Boulevard entrance. There was some discussion about Boulevard entrance. The Boulevard entrance has been, we did something more detailed this time. The Planning Commission has it in their packet as well to show a Boulevard entrance that's in compliance with Appendix A, showing the 22-foot right of way.
Sorry, Jamie, I'm sorry
sorry.
for a second. I had an email to read during the public hearing. Can I read that now? Sorry. I was checking.
You just got a demerit.
I was checking the online to make
I
sure
know.
that there was nobody
Well,
called
when
in, so I just don't want to
Yeah.
overlook this.
Yeah.
this
When you're
email.
doing 5 things, I guess we
Okay.
can, we can
Yeah.
understand.
I'll read fast.
Go ahead.
Sorry. It says,
Yeah, do you want to reopen the public hearing?
Yes.
yes.
We don't need a vote, reopen the vote.
Okay, let the record show that the public hearing is reopened, so Ms. Williams can read her letter.
Thank you. It came through October 16th. It says, to whom it may concern, at Berkeley County, West Virginia Planning Commission, we, the Berkeley County residents, property taxpayers, and homeowners of the Mills Farm community at Berkeley County, continue to protest the development of neighboring Mills Meadow of the ridiculous whopping amount of 140 townhome structures in such an incredibly small, cramped space of a lot area. Anyone with good conscience who cares about the safety, appearance, property values of our neighborhood, and lowering the crime rate would realize that approving such a project is wrong. This is pure greed on part of the developer. We continue to urge the Planning Commission office not to approve this plan as is. Developer must submit major changes to plan before such a plan is approved. Some changes must include a second exit/entry road located at an entirely different location from the existing single road to ensure safe and healthy traffic flow for the community. Moreover, please also note that the current single exit road is sitting just below a blind spot, small hill, ditch area, which would potentially hinder visibility for traffic of this community and the Mills Farm community as well, causing future traffic accidents. Other changes must also include a significant reduction of the number of homes being built on the tiny lot. For example, building 40 or 50 single-family homes instead of a crammed 140 townhomes, to remain consistent, uniform, and in good appeal with the existing neighboring communities, to maintain good property values, and to reduce potential traffic congestion and crime rates. We also need to remind the Commission's office and the developer that the existing community roads are very modest, small, and cannot handle such a traffic congestion. Major road upgrades and expansions will have to happen to near Bethel's Way, Strobridge Road, Airport Road, Novak Drive, and Nadenbush Lane before such a big project is approved to ensure public safety of the surrounding communities. We urge the Planning Commission again to reconsider and put this project into a halt unless the current developer's plan is significantly modified to conform with what we discussed and the infrastructure of the existing roads are upgraded by the county to be able to handle such a project. Thank you for your consideration. Regards, Wow the Law. Thank you.
Just see if anybody else wanted to respond to that, since the public hearing's now open. Somebody that hasn't spoken, and somebody else wants to.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Zombek. I live at 132 Aztec Drive in Mills Farm subdivision. I echo all the sentiments that my neighbors have mentioned. My major concern is not only the safety, but our property values are going to just absolutely plummet. We've got a lot of people that have moved out of Mills Farms in anticipation of this development. And their values have gone down because the word is out that they're going to build behind our homes. Another big concern of mine is the crime rate's going to go up. We have a lot of children in our development in Mills Farm. This is going to affect their lives as well. It's going to affect the school system. It's going to affect the school buses. It's just going to create a havoc that does not need to be there.
may preempt some of them. Again, this is not at the design stage, and many of the questions that have been brought up and about future design. And many of those things will be addressed at that time. So 7 feet, 22 feet, all those things are part of the design side of it. This is just what and going to that for that process as prescribed.
Thank you.
Oh, you're fine. Oh, okay, I didn't recognize you didn't have the, okay, sorry, I just want to make sure.
Do we need a motion to close it, or we just close
I
it?
think so, yes. We open it back up. Motion to close.
We didn't have a motion to open it.
I did it.
Okay. All right, planning commission members, we need another motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Norton to close public hearing again.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain due to conflict of interest.
Let the record show Mr. Smith is abstaining again due to conflict of interest. Okay? We all right now? Okay. Yeah, sure. A lot easier to hear people, see their mouth.
The 130, it is up to 130. We haven't designed for the rear of the subdivision. I think it's important to echo what Mr. Sandberry just said. This project is in the sketch plan phase. So we have had our sketch plan public hearing, or sketch plan approved. We are not into the design phase of the preliminary plan, which is why we are coming at this point to request the waiver before the design goes forward. So it would be up to 130. The boulevard that we are proposing would be in compliance with Appendix A, or what would be required. A new school impact analysis would of course be submitted. There was some speaking about a plan change, and when a plan change is called for, the ordinance requires that a plan change is called for at the preliminary plan stage after you've had your preliminary plan approved and vested, and then you come back and change something. It is the exact purpose why the developers are coming at this point to say, to request the waiver before we get into the design and the subdivision that's vested for 3 years. There was a comment about, in the last public hearing, about there was a lot of community comments about adequacy of local roads, presumably near Bethel's Way, plowing issues, speed studies, congestions, traffic impact study. So currently, the 99 units that are proposed with the approved sketch plan, the Department of Highways District 5 engineer and permit reviewer have said no traffic impact study is required with that. However, if we get the waiver approved for the 130 units and the boulevard entrance, the district engineer has said that they will require a traffic impact study. So that could actually address some of the community concerns that have been brought up repeatedly, as far as the width of near Bethel's Way, width of the roadway, adequacy of local roads. So that would be studied if this waiver were granted. The 2 access points, there are why I brought this more detailed exhibit, and the other planning commissioners have it in their packet, and you guys have it as well, is because what we did is we reached out to the local emergency services coordinator, and we said, hey, can you please find out what's the responding fire department, New Martinsburg, what's the largest ladder truck they have, and then we did a turn analysis to make sure that they can maneuver safely in and out of the subdivision with this entrance. There were some examples of grandfathering brought up, which I'm not clear on what the grandfathering was that was discussed. There was a discussion of bonding that would be required. Bonding is typically, it happens after the Department of Highways, of course, has approved your entrance, then they give you a number for what you have to bond it for and what you're required to bond it for. There was a comment about similar road names. I can attest to the fact that Central Dispatch is very diligent on making sure that you don't even have the same first syllable in your road name when the dispatchers are actually dispatched to your location. So
I don't think she was talking about road names. She was talking about Mills Farms versus Mills Meadows.
when they're dispatched, is it, you may know better than I, but are they dispatched to the road name or?
They give the subdivision names as well, and we can certainly run it by
Central Dispatches.
The addressing office to see if they have the answers.
And that could be something that could be handled at the preliminary plan stage. We did screening as far as that being required. That is something that is handled at the preliminary plan stage. Again, we are at the sketch plan stage. We have not entered into the full design preliminary plan stage because we want to determine if this waiver is going to be granted or not. As far as the property values and crime were brought up, the 99 townhomes as they were shown in the sketch plan are compliant with the county's requirements and the county's ordinance for lot densities. I'm not sure correlation between the crime that is being discussed. I did want to also mention, again, traffic impact study with the 130, it will be required by Ken Clone, district engineer. The developers understand and are willing to do the traffic study. That may, in effect, actually help some of the issues that have been brought up repeatedly. First responder access, we have, like I said, we've checked with the responding Martinsburg Fire Department. I have the largest ladder truck that will be responding to them. We've done a turn analysis for that. We did speak about points of access. We also checked with Berkeley County Water, Berkeley County Sewer to make sure that there was adequate intent to serve. We are trying our very best to fully respond to all of the community's questions and concerns. But we are at the sketch plan phase, so some of these items can't be addressed until we're at the design phase.
About the school impacts analysis, that was done in 2019.
Yes, ma'am. My presumption is that I will need to do a new school impact analysis and turn that in with a revised plan to the Planning Commission, Planning and Engineering Department. And then Planning Department shares that with the Board of Education. So I don't want folks to think that their comments or concerns fell on deaf ears. We've really tried to address them, and frankly, with the 130, Department of Highways is saying, okay, now we're going to require the traffic impact study, and the developer is willing to pay for it. So.
I would ask Jennifer Smith Stewart, do you want to share your written comments with the Planning Commission and with Ms. McLean? The ones you read this evening?
They have my notes on them, so if I could get a copy of it, I'm happy.
Okay. Can we make a copy tonight, or do you?
If you want to email it to me, if you want to send a clean copy, and then we can incorporate it in there.
And then we'll share them with Ms. McLean as well. Because you were speaking about many things, and I want to make sure she addresses them all. Okay, we've closed the public hearing. Planning Commission members, you've heard Ms. McLean's summary, and you've heard public comment. You see the Planning Commission staff's recommendation. So now it's time for a vote. Planning Commission members, hello. They're all still there?
I'm here.
We're here.
Okay.
I can see them thinking.
Can you? See them scratching their head. This is a reconsideration because at the last Planning Commission meeting, your motion was to deny the request. So make sure you read and hear.
I got a question for Jamie. If the Department of Highway comes back and says that they would allow 1 or 2 points entry, but it would require turn lanes and widening of near Bethel Way, is the developer willing to pay those costs?
My understanding is that the developer is willing to pay the cost of the traffic impact study, and then if the traffic impact study bears out that improvements are warranted, then those would need to be incorporated in the preliminary plan and the design plan. So yes, sir.
You hear that, Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, I got that thing.
Okay.
I guess I'll make a motion that we do not accept staff recommendations and allow the granting of the waiver contingent upon getting a West Virginia Department of Highways traffic study. And if that comes back before the Planning Commission before anything else is done.
That would be a revised plan set and the traffic impact study would be submitted.
Is that the only thing that you feel necessary, Mr. Lewis?
Well, the staff recommendation is to deny, and then they would have to make the determination where they want to move on, but they also gave us that we can consider granting of the waiver, but then strongly encouraging section 1204, which is granting the waiver, the Planning Commission can change its conditions or will based on the West Virginia Department of Highway study, traffic impact study.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you would move to approve the waiver depending on the impact study from the Highway Department.
That is correct, that we would grant the waiver with the condition that we would have the impact study, and then the county commission then to make the final determination after that's done.
So would that be a second public hearing then?
With the preliminary plan, we would have to come back for another public.
No, you don't come back for a public hearing. It'd be final plat. By then you've got everything done. Do we need another public hearing, Counselor, on, if the highway department says they need to do a traffic study?
I don't think it's needed, but I mean, I can understand a situation like this where you want to have, public input. If you able to approve it.
I do have documentation from the Department of Highways that I can provide to you, that it says that, the DOH would require a traffic impact study for the additional 30 lots. So I can give that to Heather, that they are requiring, if we do the 130, we have to do the traffic study. And then it goes to Department of Highways, they agree on the scope, they get this traffic study results back, and then we have to incorporate them into our preliminary plan.
What do you want to do?
Well, I just want to make sure I'm understanding Tim's proposed motion, because if the waiver is granted this evening, then I'm not following why it would come back before Planning Commission again, unless you're saying to table granting the waiver until the traffic impact study comes through. I'm not quite, I just want to make sure that we get the right words in the motion based on what, Tim, your intent is.
Well, my intent is to follow your last sentence, Heather. It says that the planning commission may require such conditions as will, in its judgment, substantially secure the optics of the standards or requirements so waived. So what I'm reading that as is that it says that we could change our minds if this traffic study comes back and it's not what we envision near Bethel Way to look like if we go further along with 130 lots.
But
That's the case, and you're wanting to do the table it until that traffic study's done, not to approve the conditions of the traffic study.
Did you hear Anthony?
No, I did not.
He was
Did not
saying
hear.
if that's the case, then your motion would be to table the decision until you had the opportunity to look at the traffic impact study.
Yeah, I could go along with that, yes, the table. That I believe that traffic impact study is important to making a decision.
Tim, are you saying then to table until we get the traffic impact study?
Yes, I'll amend my motion to that, yes.
So it's not to approve the waiver, it is to table granting the waiver until the Department of Highways traffic impact study is done.
That is correct. I'm amending it to table the request until the traffic impact study comes back.
The developers have stated that, if it were a conditional waiver, approved upon the condition of them providing the traffic impact study, they're happy to do so. But if it is to be tabled while they spend the money on the traffic study, then they would just go for the 99 units and proceed as, or without doing the traffic study.
Can you hear that, Mr. Lewis?
I didn't hear everything she said. No, I'm sorry.
I'll attempt to repeat, and Jamie, clarify if I misspeak. She said that the developer, if they are being required to invest in a traffic impact study before being granted the waiver, they would prefer to just stick with the 99 lots, and then they would not do a traffic impact study.
And no improvements would be required from the Department of Highways.
And no improvements would be required from the Department of Highways.
And a single entrance.
For the single entrance.
Yeah.
I'm Brady Creamer.
If you can just talk right into the microphone, then
I'm
you
with
should be
Randy
able-
Creamer, Mills Meadows, part of the development. I think what we're looking to do is if there is we are granted a waiver, we will proceed with the traffic study and conduct or implement our plan based on whatever that study comes back with. But we can't go through the design process and the traffic study if we can't move forward with the entire plan to do so. So we need the waiver before we move forward with traffic study and the redevelopment or redesign. Thank you.
I'm not sure that's what the planning commission wants to do at this point. Mr. Lewis, are you hearing all this since you initiated
Yes.
a motion?
Yes.
So Linda, do you just follow through with his motion and see if they vote on it?
One more item to add. We met with Dirks a couple weeks ago to look at different ways that we could provide relief to Mills Farm. And unfortunately, that goes through some other properties, the Air Guard, the Airport Authority, and it's out of our control in order to provide that access. There is a developer across the road that will be providing a roadway into Mills Farm that'll take you out on
Nadenbush.
So that should relieve a lot of the traffic issues that we see, but for what we're trying to accomplish.
None of those
Well,
were
yeah,
items.
but that relieves the traffic issues for you. But we hear traffic issues on Nadenbush Lane from other developers too, and residents that live on a Nadenbush Lane, because there has recently been a subdivision that was proposed on Nadenbush Lane that required a lot of input from the public regarding the condition of Nadenbush Lane.
I was speaking for the central point of access for Mills Farm, and providing them two ways that they can go out. They can go out near Bethel's Road or Nadenbush.
Yeah. Would that be an emergency access?
No.
That would be this is a separate developer who's working on our hope was that we could connect up here, but there's no access that we can get here because of a lease currently with the Air Guard.
And their shooting range.
And their shooting range. We're driving
Air Guard
past
has a
it.
shooting range? Do they really?
Yeah.
We had some of their rounds over there.
Right here, so we didn't want you driving through that without.
All right, we're back to square one.
Because we still have Tim's motion.
Yeah, we have a motion, it hasn't been seconded. Right. Mr. Lewis, are you still with us?
I'll withdraw the motion if that helps, and we can start over again.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to try to form another motion?
This is probably gonna be straightforward, that I then make a motion that we accept staff recommendation and deny the request.
Okay. Have a motion then by Mr. Lewis to accept the staff recommendation and deny the request for a second, for a waiver for the 130 lots. Do I have a second to Mr. Lewis's motion? Hello?
Second.
Second by Mr. Deal? Okay, I have a motion on the floor by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Deal to deny, or to accept the staff recommendation, and that is to deny the request for a waiver for the second, geez, I'm lost now.
Waiver to the second entrance.
Second entrance requirement, right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, let the record show there's one no by Ms. Norton
An abstention due to
and an
conflict of
abstention by Mr. Smith.
conflict of interest.
Can the motion move forward? All right, the motion passed. Thank you. Thank you, folks, for your patience. I think that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Takes them back to 91.
Mm-hmm. Definitely probably using the traffic out there.
If they don't want that. Okay, let's continue with our meeting. Nadenbush Pines.
Yep, so we got a staff report for request for final plat determination. Project's Native Bush Pines, phase 2, lots 26 through 45 and 61 through 67, file 2009-243 tied to 4304. The developer is ILA Properties and the surveyor is Roberts Land Surveying. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 19, parcel 3.2, and is located on Naden Bush Lane, approximately 1 mile east of its intersection with Winchester Avenue. This project in phase proposes 27 single-family lots on approximately 17 acres to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or variances have been applied for this project. On October 7th, 2020, County Engineer Dirk Stansberry issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening, Mike Roberts, President Project.
Aren't you glad you moved last? Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Roberts or of the staff? If not, can I have a motion?
Actually, I have a question. Am I missing, is there a survey map included in the packet?
Probably not.
We only did that with the public hearings
Oh,
because
gotcha.
of the size of the files.
I didn't,
So
no worries. I didn't realize this wasn't a public hearing. All right. Yeah, I was
Participate now.
tired of accusing myself so much.
I think we were up to 64 pages.
Okay.
Okay. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Roberts or the staff? Hello? We lose them again?
No, they're there. They're on meeting.
No.
If there are no questions, I move we approve accept the staff recommendation and to advance to final plat determination. Am I reading this correctly?
Final plat approval. This is
Final
the
plat
determination
approval.
for the-
Gotcha. To move to approve the final plat.
Have at the December 7th meeting, public hearing.
For public hearing for consideration of the final plat, at the December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith, Mr. Lewis, okay, second by Mr. Lewis. To accept staff recommendation and to consider at a public hearing the final plat at December 7th, 2020 meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstentions or everybody voted? Everybody, okay, motion passed.
Thank you.
The next request for final plat determination is for Stone Mill, lots 1 through 25, File 2008-114 tied to 02906. The developer is Dan Ryan Builders, engineers Fox and Associates, located in the Apecka District, map 17, parcel 1, and is located on the north side of Swan Pond Road and the west side of Rocky Marsh Run. This is like on the border right with Jefferson County. The developer is proposing 25 single-family lots on approximately 73 acres to be served by private well and septic, and there's a remainder of 23 acres located in Jefferson County. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. On August 31st, 2020, County Engineer Dirk Stansberry issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Do we have anyone, excuse me, to represent the project?
Steve Sianovich with Fox and Associates representing the applicant.
Thank you. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Sianovich or of the staff regarding this project? If there are no questions, can I have a motion?
I do have one question before we get to a motion. Hey Steve, the part that's in Jefferson County, is that also before their planning commission for developing?
No, it's primarily a floodplain area, and it's shown as remaining land on our plat. Quite frankly, we didn't even look at the development ability of that property.
You don't want to go for
Development. No, I'm not gonna try that again. So best answer I can give is we call it remaining land with no intent to develop that as a part of the Stones community.
That's right down there at the Rocky Marsh.
It is. Rocky Marsh runs right through.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Rocky Marsh might be.
I think it is. Mr. Lewis, did you hear that?
No, I couldn't hear everything. It was kind of broken up pretty bad.
Yeah. What is in Jefferson County is a floodplain area and is going to be listed as non-developable.
It's actually listed as a remaining land on our plat, which doesn't really give you any development rights. I think Heather would agree that we have floodplain.
If they had voiced any concerns with if that was up for development down in that area.
No.
The applicant hasn't approached Jefferson County at this,
Doing many good to anyhow.
in my opinion. Fox is not representing the applicant with filing anything with Jefferson.
Okay, I need a motion.
I move to accept staff recommendations. If there are no
I move
further
final
questions.
plat determination and advertising a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval.
Want to take a second on that?
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Norton and second by Mr. Smith to accept staff recommendation and to consider the final plat at a public hearing on December 7th Planning Commission meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
It's been a tough night. Ridgecrest.
Yes, Ridgecrest. This is another request for final plat determination. It's Ridgecrest Phase 2, lots 27 through 33, file 2006-006. The developer is JH Real Estate LLC, and the engineer is Roberts Land Surveying, well, surveyors, Roberts Land Surveying. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 16, parcel 6, and is located on the west side of West Virginia Secondary Route 19, and approximately 7,200 feet south of the intersection with Secondary Route 19/1. So I know it's Painsford Road, and it's all Painsford Road though. This phase proposes 7 single-family lots on approximately 12.6 1.6 acres to be served by private well and septic.
Says public here.
Yeah, it's private.
It's private. Okay.
At the March 5th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting, an exception to Section 705 to not install sidewalks along Paynesford Road was granted. And at the December 17th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting, a waiver to Appendix A, Section 1.7.A, requiring a 150-foot paved diameter cul-de-sac every 1,000 feet of roadway was granted. County Engineer Dirk Stansberry issued a letter on September 28th, 2020, stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Yes, Mike Roberts, representing the project.
Okay. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Roberts or of the staff? If there are no questions, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept staff recommendations for final plat determination and advertising of the public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Motion by Mr. Lewis,
Second.
second by Ms. Norton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So moved.
She said.
I think there's a bit of a delay,
Oh,
so that was Vicki's.
Okay, all right. Motion passed.
Thank you.
All right, Communities of Burwell North, Phase 6.
This is also a request for final plat determination, Communities of Burwell North, Phase 6, lots 461 through 470, file 2009-214, tied to file 02106. The developer is Burwell Properties LLC, and the surveyor is Roberts Land Surveying. It's located in the Falling Waters District, map 13, parcel 10.4, and is located on secondary route 8, 1 mile from Knighttown. The final plat proposes the development of 10 townhouse lots on approximately 1.4 acres to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or exceptions have been requested for this phase. County Engineer Dirk Stansberry issued a letter on September 9th, 2020, stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Mike Roberts,
Thank you.
representing the project.
Okay. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Roberts or the staff? If there are no questions, can we have a motion?
This is Tim Lewis. I make a motion we accept staff recommendations on the final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of the final plat approval at the December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Ms. Norton to accept staff recommendation, and that is to give a final plat determination and a public hearing for December 7th, 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Elizabeth Station, Section F, Phase 3C.
Yes, this is also a request for final plat determination. Elizabeth Station, Section F, Phase 3C, lots 184 through 191, 232 through 237, and 251 through 258. It's file 2007-029 tied to 05007 and 11905. The developer is Larry Faircloth Realty Inc., and the surveyor is Roberts Land Surveying, located in the Mill Creek District, map 9H, parcel 16, and map 9, parcel 16. This project is located on the west side of Willis Drive, approximately 1,000 feet from its intersection with Henshaw Road, and this phase proposes 22 single-family residential lots on approximately 12 acres to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or variances have been requested for this project. On October 9th, 2020, County engineer issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Do you have anyone to represent the project?
Yes, Mike Roberts, representing the project.
Thank you. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Roberts or the staff? If not, can we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman wants to make a motion, we accept staff recommendations for final plat determination and advertising of public hearing for consideration of the final plat approval at December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Ms. Norton, to accept staff recommendation, and have a public hearing for final plat determination at a public hearing on December 7, 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion, is there anyone opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you. Just like to let the record show that it took a double take and I saw your clock up there.
I know.
It felt like it.
Hey, you should be up here.
Thank you all.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Amberfield, Section 6.
Alrighty, last one for tonight is another request for final plat determination. Amberfield Section 6, Phase 2, lots 121 through 126 and 131 through 136. It's filed 2010-282 tied to 05418. The developer is Highlands of Potomac LLC. The engineer is Fox and Associates, and it's located in the Falling Waters District, map 14, parcel 11.15. Project's located on the west side of Kitchens Orchard Road, approximately 0.45 mile from the intersection of Grade Road. This project proposes 12 single-family residential lots on approximately 17 acres to be served by public water and private septic. At the January 7th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted an exception to Section 705 to not install sidewalks. On October 28th, 2020, County Engineer Dirk Sansberry issued a letter of completion and found the project to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Do you have anyone to represent the project?
Steve Sianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Sianovich or of the staff? If there are none, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept staff recommendations for final plat determination and advertising of the public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the December 7th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation, and that is for final plat consideration at the public hearing on December 7, 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is staff council discussion, action, motion.
Yes, I just have one item listed there, the NFIP Community Rating System certification. We do annual verifications for those, and then every 5 years they do a 5-year cycle verification with us, and that's in order to maintain our 15% discount on flood insurance for anyone within the county. That 5-year cycle verification has started this month, and I'll be working on that through the end of the year into spring of next year. And one of the things that we do annually for that is to mail a letter to property owners in repetitive loss areas. And we're working on those letters now and should have those out in the mail this week. So if you hear anything about that, it's just an informational letter going out with a flood preparation brochure and sharing information about how they can get home insurance if they don't have it already, and how they can prepare for a flood and respond to a flood. So that's just one of the items that goes into the 5-year packet, and I've been accumulating that thing since we did it the last time. So this is my second time doing it, so I at least know what I'm up against. So I will work through that. And then we will do our 2021 meeting approval or review for planning commission meetings at the next planning commission meeting. Council approved their holidays this past Thursday, so we can now schedule out and know when it will be the appropriate time to have.
Did they add any more holidays?
No, and there's no election days on it, so it looks a little shorter.
Oh, man. How many holidays does the county get a year? 12, 15?
It's nice. No complaints from me.
No, I'm sure not. I want to just say, when I was in private industry, we had 12 or 15. I'm not sure what it was.
Sure.
And that was unheard of in private industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, Thanksgiving, Halloween, and the day after Halloween, right? Okay.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything.
You have nothing.
I've got nothing.
Thank you for your input this evening.
Yes, thanks.
For legal. That was appreciated. Let me just ask for the record. Several meetings ago, we talked about some information handout at a planning commission meeting, so that maybe the public that came would have an idea of what it is we can actually do. Is that going anywhere? I think you and Heather were going to work on it.
That was to provide contact resources for who they could talk to next, their representatives. So I think November would probably be the ideal time to do that, once we know who current representation is and where their offices are.
All right, the other thing that, do you want to talk about asking for public sign-in information to the planning commission members?
Sure.
Something we need to vote on?
Do we need to vote?
It's not something you need
Just share for discussion. I can share.
Yeah.
to vote on necessarily. The open meeting act mandates that if you require people to sign in, the earliest or the latest that it can be is 15 minutes before the meeting. You can't require people to do it an hour before the meeting, 2 hours, 2 days before the meeting. That's the up to 15 minutes. I think what Heather's president of Hillary returned.
Well, maybe if I mention that they need to sign in, print their name, address, that will remind them too as to what they're responsible to do. So we have it legible for the minutes to be transcribed. I'll try to make sure that I do that.
And just to fill in the planning commission members that are dialed in, we have our sheet that when people come in, they sign in to speak. And at the last couple meetings, they trying to capture their names and the correct spellings was difficult because people were either not signing in at all or they were putting signatures on the sheet. So I just want to make sure we get the sheet in front of people at an appropriate time where they're able to print their name clearly. And I know if somebody's not comfortable coming up and speaking at the microphone and we're saying, wait, before you talk, please fill out this form. It's a lot to ask of them all at once.
Okay. There's nothing else to discuss. I'm ready for a motion to adjourn, Mr. Goff. Hello? Okay, I have a motion, Mr. Goff, second by Ms. Norton, to close the meeting, to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, folks. We'll see you.
All right.
Almost 9 o'clock, look.
Okay.